My 30M parents are blatantly rude to my son and wife. Long-time viewer and first-time posting. Apologies if this is long, but I feel almost at the end of my rope and don't know what to do next. To preface, I was raised in a very conservative and sheltered household and was never very close with my parents. They are very much the, I am the adult and parent so whatever I say is correct and there is no other way to do things, sort of people. Additionally, they've always been super critical surrounding anything good that happens in my life, i.e. buy first house, but to them they pick apart everything that needs fixing inside or getting a promotion, but then they state that I can't really handle that responsibility. Things seemed to get very tense with them when my then girlfriend, now wife, was pregnant with our son. They wanted us to get married right away, but we didn't want to just get married for the sake of doing so. From that point on they were very dismissive of my wife and tended to ignore her at get-togethers and family functions. I've confronted them on this, but they don't change their behavior nor even recognize it. Things got even worse, about 3 years later, when on the night of our wedding they texted me threatening to leave before the ceremony. I talked them down and they ended up staying. At this point in time my son is walking and talking and asks to play with them when they come over to our home, to which they usually end up bickering about who has to play with him. At first I thought this was just the type of grandparents they were going to be, but fast forward 3 more years and they're constantly doting on my daughter. Even when they FaceTime and my son is talking they immediately ask what his sister is doing. This type of behavior keeps occurring no matter what I say to them and has gotten to the point where my son asks, "Why don't they like me as much?" or "What did I do wrong?" and it pains me to try and answer him, because there's no excuse. Things took a further turn during the whole pandemic. Please note I am not trying to start a debate about COVID and how it should be handled, where we did not initially see them for a while, due to having our 3rd child during the pandemic and at that point there was so much unknown. At the point where we did start seeing them and requesting masks, especially around the infant, they weren't respecting those wishes. Every time they requested to do something with the kids it was always in a superpopulated space so I said no. After the vaccines came out my mom was, and still is, refusing the vaccine. I told them that if they wanted to be around the kids and not have to wear masks they'd need the vaccine. Before any judgment, my son does have immune system issues, especially as they've been visiting COVID hotspots with no masks. After confronting them about the vaccine things just seemed to blow up even further. I tried to calm them down as to avoid arguing with them in front of the kids, but that went almost nowhere. Later in that day I got a series of emails from my dad calling me out on being condescending and having attitude with them. Note that whenever my opinion differs it is always attitude. The worst part though was when the email started bringing in my son trying to blame him that their relationship with him is non-existent, and that he's always playing some sort of game and ignoring them. I could handle debating COVID with them, but drew the line at them trying to pivot the conversation and throw my son under the bus. I shot back responses, but nothing said was ever addressed back, just more pivoting and spinning. I have currently cut communication with them, for now. Does anyone have any advice or experience with this type of situation? Too long did not read. Critical parents treat my son, wife, and myself poorly, yet still want a relationship. Due to their behavior I've cut communication, but know it can't be permanent and not sure where to go from here. Why can't the lack of communication be permanent? They openly mistreat your son and favor your daughter. No one needs that kind of emotional abuse in their lives. Not you, not your wife, and not your kids, whose relationship with each other will be impacted by their grandparents' actions. Let them go if they can't act right. It can be permanent. You cut contact because their behavior is harmful to your child, and until their behavior ceases to be harmful to your child you should keep contact cut. Y'all are grown. You're letting your family disrespect your family? What type of husband or father are you trying to be? A weak-willed one or one who sticks up for his family? I have currently cut communication with them, for now. This was the right call for your family and for you. There is nothing in your post to suggest they bring any joy into your lives. Has gotten to the point where my son asks, "Why don't they like me as much?" or "What did I do wrong?" and it pains me to try and answer him, because there's no excuse. Please protect your son by cutting these horrible people out of your life. Make it clear that your wife and kids are your life and anyone including them get in the way of that you will not allow it. Next time they do that bullshit you cut them off forever, if they truly want a relationship. Lay down the law. Protect your family from the outside, even parents. Your parents are selfish and are entirely to blame for all of this. Why do you want a relationship with people like this? At the first sign of them mistreating your wife you should have put your foot down and threatened to go NC. Not to mention how they treat your son. NC is long overdue. My boyfriend, 30M, is finally making an effort, but I, 26F, feel it might be too late. We've been together for 4 years, living together for 3 and engaged for 2 years. We've been having the same arguments for years, and now that he's actually showing some growth and progress, I feel like I can't trust it, and I've lost interest in him. Living with him has been like living with a teenager. He's messy, disorganized, has no respect for the space we share and isn't even embarrassed by it. It's consistently been the source of our worst arguments. He'll make an effort for a week or 2, and then get comfortable again. He doesn't have any goals in terms of personal growth. When I ask him about his future aspirations, and that I'd like for us to express our personal and relationship goals so we can help each other achieve them, he says vague things, and then takes no action whatsoever. He wants to get married and get a house, but when I offer to book an appointment so we can consult a financial planner and make a budget, he puts it off. The kicker is that I don't even care for either of those things. I was just willing to compromise and make him happy. He's stopped making an effort to appreciate the things I like. Our hobbies and interests are vastly different, but in the beginning we really put in the effort to learn to appreciate things. I feel like he quickly dismisses my suggestions now without even giving it a chance. Overall, he's just so comfortable with who he is, what he likes and what he wants. And there's nothing wrong with that, but I like to learn, grow and constantly improve. I feel terrible otherwise. I've told him, if he doesn't want to change he doesn't have to, but I can't see a future with him that way. I've lost a lot of sexual desire towards him as a result of all this. I feel like it's all been slowly chipping away at me, and when he tries to touch me I feel disgusted. I've tried to get into it, but he doesn't even react to my body language, which is clearly cold and disinterested, and will just continue until he's satisfied. Not to mention, he's really let himself go physically. The extra weight would not bother me if he tried to dress little better or even made the slightest effort to improve his lifestyle. For the longest time, I thought it was a me problem because I was always so dry. I tried changing my birth control and taking supplements for my libido. But not long ago, a man that acts like an actual adult that has his shit together flirted with me, and turns out that I actually have a ravenous sex drive that has come back to bite me with a vengeance. I didn't do anything with him, but I had to take a cold shower when I got home. That experience kind of opened my eyes to just how much my relationship has been failing romantically. I was planning on breaking off the engagement and taking some time to myself. But for some reason this week, he's been uncharacteristically responsible and considerate. Doing things without being asked. Cleaning up after both of us, cooking, planning our next trip. But I don't feel relieved, I feel angry. Why now? When I feel like I'm at the absolute end of my rope. I expressed that to him and he owned up to everything, and even offered to make us a therapy appointment so we can work out our issues. But I don't even know if I want to anymore. I'm tired and I'm horny. I don't know what to do. Should I wait and see if he actually means it this time, or do I allow myself to take a break from him? Could I feel attracted to him again? Read your post. Pretend it was written by your best friend, and then think what you'd advise her to do. Just end it. Be honest, be as kind as you can, ignore his vacant promises to change, and end it. I don't see a reason why you would stay with someone who is so universally disappointing to you. Why now? When I feel like I'm at the absolute end of my rope. Because he could tell you were at the end of your rope and that he was about to lose you. So he decided to do some of the things you've been demanding, not because he wanted to, but to back you off the ledge so he can go back to his comfortable life with you around to pick up after him. Your boyfriend is who he is and you have built up too much resentment. Leaving will be easier for you. I was just in a very similar situation. I think it's time to move on. Made me 10x happier in the end. Honestly, it seems like you're mentally over it already. You have to decide if you put the effort to get back into it and build it back up. My 50 cents, take them up on the counseling and see if you feel something fundamental change over a couple months. If no, break up. Regardless, you aren't wrong to break up with them at this point. Maybe they just picked up on you being done and are putting up a fight just because they know they have to. Girl, leave. You guys aren't compatible. Doesn't mean he's a bad person, it just means this relationship isn't happy and healthy anymore. This could very much be one of those spouts of him making an effort again for a week or two, or something could have triggered a change in him. But after 4 years of all that, I wouldn't count on it. It's hard for people to change. I'd say wait it out for a few weeks to notice if he changes back, and honestly observe for signs of possible cheating, because that kind of change has to be triggered by something else if you've been saying the same things for years and years. I just don't want for you to let your fiancé get in the way of you finding the love of your life. Caught my boyfriend taking upskirt pics. Hi friends. I caught my boyfriend with 3 short videos of him taking videos of an older woman's upskirt from 3 different days. He's 27 and I'm 24 and we've been together for 4 years. This is awkward and I feel disgusted. He has always been respectful of women and I am all about women empowerment. He was raised by strong women and he is not the type to disrespect a woman ever. Until now, I guess. He told me he has a fantasy of MILFs lol and that his fantasy took the best of him in that moment. The woman does not know. And this is borderline sexual harassment. If it was a young girl, this would be pedophilia status, but the woman was in her 40-50s. What's the opposite of pedophilia? I'm confused. And disgusted. Is this a phase? Should he get therapy? Is this cheating? Edit. I say lol when writing because it's like a cringe laugh when you shouldn't be laughing. Please don't take it as I am making fun of the situation. It's gross as hell. I also want to let everyone know that I lives with him and I'm not financially capable to live on my own in San Diego. I don't want to use him, and if I could snap my fingers and leave I would. We've been living together for 4 years after I moved from NC. I am sad, and luckily I had a flight to catch to Arizona for a few days to visit family. Please give me real advice as much as possible and know that this is my life and all his family is like my family. I am a foster youth. All his friends are my friends now. I'm from NC, moved to CA. Please help deadass OMFG also. The pictures I found were already in his deleted trash folder and he said that he was disgusted when he took them, which is why it was already deleted. I also just called his mom. Another edit. Friends, I am uncomfortable, please do not take my lols like I am making fun of this. Please give me advice as to move forward. I have a few funds from financial aid in the bank. I do not know the woman as I didn't get a good look at her. I work next door and on my off days I actually am in his shop all day that him and his cousin own. I probably seen her before. This is awful. I return to CA Wednesday night aka tomorrow and I have not spoken to him at all since I left. What do I ask him when I come back? How do I get answers? Do I ask him who it was? Do I ask him to seek help? Do I tell him that I told his mom? I am truly disgusted as this is not the person I want to introduce my family to. I feel ashamed and sad. I know I need to break up with him. Do you want me on the street? I am a full-time student, I work. I do not have real family as I am a foster youth. Please understand that you cannot miraculously move back into the system where people care for you. I let my school counselor know and she is willing to provide emergency funding for a hotel up to 1 week. Can I figure all this out in 1 week? I am lost and I want to disappear. How would I even report it? Do I steal his phone? Do I ask him how many times he's done this? Was it because I am not enough? Is this the first time you've done this? What do I say? WTH people. Please help me find solutions. This is not borderline sexual harassment, this is sexual assault. These are just the 3 times you found out about, and this likely isn't the first time he's taken photos of women without their consent. That woman didn't consent to having photos of her underwear taken and she's a victim of your boyfriend. It sounds like your boyfriend knows her if he took the photos on different days and she should be warned about his behavior. Him engaging in therapy would be the absolute only way you should consider staying with him. If I were in your shoes I would be calling the police. I'd report him to the police, to be honest. That's fucking disgusting. Break up with him at the very least. He has always been respectful of women. I guarantee that this is not true. You just finally caught him. Why would you stay with this creeper? As for his thing, that's not a fantasy, that's a literal sex crime. He's a sex criminal. So because she was older, it was okay to assault her? I am confused about how this is funny. He was raised by strong women and he is not the type to disrespect a woman ever. Ellipsis. That's predatory behavior, he wants it so he's gonna get it, consent or not. Big yikes. That's grounds for arrest and prosecution. So he's not always been respectful of women and he is the type to disrespect women since he did it at least 3 times already. Probably more often. He's also lying. Taking 3 videos on 3 different occasions and with the effort to be sneaky about it isn't in the moment, it's prepared and planned. Don't play stupid. This is not an accident or a phase. It's an attitude. Misogyny. This is a power move to degrade women and objectify them. And it is his intention to do so. Your boyfriend is a sexual harasser and predator. And I hope a victim finds out and kicks his balls one day. I, 30F, can't stop obsessing over how my husband emotionally cheated 5 years ago. My, 30F, now husband, 32M, basically emotionally cheated on me for a month, then broke up with me about 5 years ago, towards the beginning of our relationship. We have since worked through it, but I find myself having these random days, maybe twice a year for a week or so, where I just can't breathe and don't know how to get over it. Some backstory. About 5 years ago, when we had been dating for almost a year, my boyfriend, at the time, seemed still obsessed with his ex who had brutally cheated on him and dumped him. I used to question him quite often because I had a bad feeling, but he always reaffirmed that he loved me and was over it. Well, a year into dating, he randomly dropped on me that they had been talking for a month and he wanted to rekindle with her. He was hoping I would stay on a talking basis. I said definitely not, and we broke up. He did talk to her and apparently realized that it wasn't what he wanted at all and that she was going to string him along indefinitely, as she had done before. He reached back out to me and I basically told him to go screw himself. However, he kept reaching out to apologize and told me he would explain anything I wanted. I kind of did want an answer, so we met up and talked. We started hanging out again, but he was still talking to her. He finally came clean and cut her off, and I honestly don't know why I stayed with him because at that point he sucked. It basically took me 8 months to forgive him, and after that he agreed to go to couples therapy where things got much better between us. He is super against cheating and basically didn't realize that what he did was cheating, but he since then has realized. Now, he's incredibly trustworthy. I know that sounds like crap based on the stuff on Reddit, but he has sent me his location, has always told me the second anyone texts him without me asking, and always puts me first in just about every area. We built this whole life together, have the same values, and really do love each other. He does things like make dinner when I'm tired, host my family every weekend, care meticulously for our pets, and talk to me for hours about my job. However, every 4-6 months I get a flashback of what happened when we broke up and I just can't breathe. Like this week, I had a dream that he had been sleeping with his ex the whole time we've been married. His ex is blocked and we've never seen her again. This made me question if he had ever slept with her while we were apart. He told me they just talked, and if I could even trust him. I just get this pit of anxiety in my stomach and I feel like I'm a second choice and see literally everything about our relationship in a new light. After about a week, the feelings will fade once I forget about the trigger and see how he's acting now, in reality. Is there anything I can do to heal this? We have talked about it so many times in couples therapy that it feels overkill at this point. I really think it's more of a me trauma thing. Should I have not stayed with him if there's no way to ever stop feeling like this? Any and all advice appreciated. He is super against cheating. Yeah, people who are charged about this often have their own demons they're dealing with and are overcompensating. And basically didn't realize that what he did was cheating. Oh yes, he did. He was playing 2 options simultaneously, and ultimately decided to pursue the option that led to marrying you. Why do you cover for him like this? He knows what's okay and what isn't. That's some PTSD you have. There may be an anxiety. It takes time, but it gets better. I think you should consider individual counseling for yourself. Couples therapy is helpful, but this is your own trauma that you need to resolve without his input. Maybe his actions now are triggering something you don't even realize. You are plan B. He wanted to get back with his ex. Once he realized she wasn't gonna change, he went back to you. If the ex had changed for the better, he would be with her and not with you. That's the truth, act accordingly. You didn't build this relationship on a solid foundation. Its foundation was based on mistrust and resentment. When the foundation is so weak, how do you really build something meaningful? You can try to forgive, but you can never forget. Even the NRE period is marred with bad feelings. I would try to detect what triggers it. You know he's sorry, he's been a great partner since, but there must be something that makes you return to that place, maybe something he unknowingly does. Something that makes you feel less loved or invisible. If you can discern what triggers your memories, maybe you can avoid it. Evidently he chose you and you are happy, except these 2 weeks a year when you regress to that time. So try to cherish what you have and value everything you've done and built together. I hope you find peace, op. You should have dumped him. You didn't, that was a mistake and you know it. That's why you can't get over it and you have those flashbacks. Now. Do you want to be for the rest of your life with him, or were 5 years more than enough? Frankly, if this was a deal breaker and something you wanted to end the relationship over, then you should have done so many years ago. If you gave him your word that you were willing to forgive and move on and he followed through on his end, then you owe it to him to figure it out on your own via therapy or drop it.